Probably just the fried kimchi and egg.
Do you want bacon on it?
No.
No bacon? Okay. Fried kimchi, egg. Wait, we have a new grilled cheese thing that we ate last time.
Yeah?
Grilled kimchi. So it's kimchi and grilled cheese.
Yeah, whichever you want.
That is awesome. Anything with egg and kimchi, I'm down for it.
Nice. We got the right guest.
Yeah.
All right. Today is Thursday, April 29th. We have a special guest, Tatiana Gjergji.
Yes.
I pronounced that right. How are you doing today?
Good. How are you?
No, all right. So, do you want to give to those that don't know? Do you want to give a brief background about yourself and your organization?
Yeah, I'm a first-generation Albanian American. My family came here from Albania and from Montenegro, so I come from a family that values hard work, honor, and education. However, in our experience living here in New York, I've seen them struggle with their own business, and also myself going through college where I kind of had a lack of resources or direction or help. So I thought, why not start a nonprofit where I can connect with more people and to give them resources that they wish they had and just overall support. So that's kind of why I started Noteworthy Resources back in 2017.
2017, wow. So in 4 years.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think your greatest achievements so far or your failures have been that you're very proud of?
My achievements would be all of the connections that I've made in the community and the support that I've gotten for wanting to provide support, because a lot of people, they don't want to be seen as going to a support group, or they want to show everyone that they've got it together, but actually we do need one another to help support one another, and that's okay. So I think that's a big achievement, is just connecting with people and joining together. And some challenges I faced were just lack of funding. So, and then also with that is I have a full-time job on top of running another nonprofit, so it can be a little tricky, but I'm learning as I go.
Nice. I really wanted Tatiana to be on the podcast because when we started the restaurant a year ago, I saw her everywhere. People always talked about her. So it seemed like she was doing very big things in the community, very community driven. And that's what our restaurant is about too. Very voice out the concerns of the people, bring, I guess, some sort of peace in this struggle that everybody's going through. And I think we got a great guest today. So, how did you get into skateboarding?
Oh, I've always been into it ever since I was a little kid. A lot of the guys that I hung out with, they really didn't like the idea, so they wouldn't actually let me use their boards, or they would kind of like, it was just total sexism as a child. So, back in like early 2000s, there wasn't a lot of women that you would see skateboarding. I guess X Games came about and there was a couple, but not as much. And also my family, being immigrants in this country, they're like, we came here for you to bust your ass on a board with wheels? No, thank you. So they wouldn't get me a skateboard. So I think within that struggle, it just made me. And then also when someone says no, it's not for you, you can't do that.
Makes you want to do it more.
Of course.
Yeah.
Typical kid. It's like, don't do that. Oh yeah. How far can I
forbidden
get?
fruit.
Yeah.
Yep.
So that's why I got into it, and I made a lot of friends along the way. And unfortunately, I think I'm supposed to go through a lot of these barriers in this lifetime for me, because I learned from them. So even with, I I also was in a relationship with someone who was like, if we go to the skate park and if you fall, we're leaving. And it was like, I was in that relationship for 5 years. And I'm not saying that he's a bad guy, but was he insecure? Most likely. Rather than helping someone that he cares about, he was just, absorbed into that self-sabotaging fear of the external, what he looks like, I guess. So I guess with all that, and then meeting my previous boyfriend, who's also vice president of Noteworthy Resources, he's extremely compassionate and supportive and really helpful with getting people to learn how to skateboard and help people that are learning, like our late bloomers or new to it in general, like little kids. So that's kind of like, I've always wanted to do it. I've got pushed back for so long. Now I'm an adult. I'm going to do that now, and I don't care what you say. And luckily, and it's not so much to try to give my power away to the partner aspect, but it's still of the people who you surround yourself with, you also become them. So one person told me, show me your friends and I'll show you your future. And at the time I was like, what the heck is that? But really, if I'm surrounded by that, I'm also going to receive more barriers, especially with that attitude that guy had. But luckily, when I embraced another relationship that he was very supportive and compassionate, then you open yourself up more, and it feels good. And I think even with you opening up this restaurant, this is a landmark in the community where people come together to eat. And how do you feel when you eat? You feel good, you feel connected, and that's like a very common denominator with all of us. Like, we all gotta eat. Yeah. So it's great to just be yourself, I guess.
Exactly. And I always found that so many people focus on the differences of people, but like certain stuff like skateboarding, hobbies, and food, you kind of just forget about all that, and you're just like, hey, we're focused on this thing right here, and that's how we grow together. And I always thought that was like, I always wonder that why people always focus like on like your skin or like what family you came from. And it was pretty sad, but I guess it is what it is.
I guess that's the external.
Yeah.
They're trained.
Exactly.
Not so much trained, but they grew up just observing and judging and assuming rather than asking questions. And I don't know. It is absolutely bizarre, but
do you mainly focus on with who's like your focus group that you typically help, and how do they find you, or what issues do you like really hone in on or like find yourself really helping?
Humans with mental health, which is everybody. So we don't focus on any specific age or race or ethnicity or gender. It is legit everyone within the community in the Capital District that I can reach. Luckily with COVID, a lot of the things were on Zoom, so individuals from other areas joined our mental wellness support groups each month, which was really awesome. But honestly, if someone is struggling, whether they want to pick up a hobby like skateboarding, but they just want some guidance and tips, we infuse mental health in everything that we do, and deep conversations and talking about taboo topics that normally aren't talked about when it comes to small talk.
Yeah, putting it out in the air.
Yeah, because people are suffering in silence and you don't know it, but then when you have these conversations and create a safe space to talk about it, then you get to learn from one another. It's like, oh shit, I didn't know you were dealing with that.
Yeah, right. Everybody has their demons, but it's how you overcome them, I guess. But that's why I got the my professor in here the first day, or the first podcast, because he would talk about taboo subjects. Like, he would talk about like prostitution and why someone would make the decision to do that for themselves and stuff like that. So I was like, okay, this guy, I want to think like that. That's why I studied economics. I was like, because he inspired me. I was like, man, people really need to talk about these issues to bring it to light, to be able to solve them. And I think like the last few years, like the greatest achievement we did like as society is like really focus on mental health. And I think, yeah, how did like COVID affect your organization? Do you think it created like opportunities, or I'm always curious about that.
2020 and like COVID era really helped us a lot. So I think people took their mental health seriously when it did, like COVID happened. It's always been around. It always will be around, but it's our focus. We're constantly going. And then when we're told to stop, then the dust settles, like the sediment settles, and you're like, oh, this is heavy. Why am I carrying this? And then people let go, so I see 2020 and like the whole COVID thing, even though it was absolutely terrible how people were getting sick and passing away and things like that and losing their jobs, and economically, it hurt a lot of people. However, as what we do when it comes to mental health and trying to come together as much as possible, that really helped us as an organization to get out there, because people were actually taking us seriously when we were talking about these things. And it's kind of like, I see it as what is it called? When you have powder, sifter. Like you sift the powder, the flour.
Yeah.
You have to put it through something and shake it up for it to COVID really shook everything up to be like what's working and what's not. And you need to focus on what is working and go with that and let go of everything else. I'm hoping people see it like that.
Yeah, that's awesome. And I think a lot of things online were in that aspect that they're after, now we're looking at hindsight, but a lot of people now look back as wow, I've really learned a lot about myself and about the relationships you're in, because you're confined the space with a few people,
Yeah. And coping skills. What are coping skills? And there are a variety of coping skills, whether it is skateboarding or reading or cooking, taking deep breaths, meditation. I mean, there's a variety of coping skills that can help.
Yeah, could you give us a few of those nuggets?
Oh, it's honestly different for everyone. So,
becoming aware of what you need first, maybe.
Yeah, what feels good, right? We have to think about, okay, what brings us joy, and then go from there, right? So whether it's music, okay, well then that's a coping skill. What's a sport that you like? Oh, well then you can use that as well. So if you have the energy level to match, you have to have a variety of coping skills to match your energy level. So if you just want to read a book or take a walk or go for a drive, talk to a friend, listen to music, possibly go swimming. I have no idea if you have a pool or whatever, or YMCA stuff. It honestly depends. And it can be very simple, whether it's drawing or coloring or hiking.
And you also mentioned the struggles made who you are and be able to achieve more. Could you speak on that a little more? Because I also believe a lot of things that people may cause trauma for their mental illness is their background, or maybe they feel stuck sometimes. But I've always heard that it's actually your superpower. Your struggle is your superpower, because that's what makes you unique in this world, and that's how you can find your voice or your purpose. And do you kind of relate with that?
I do, for sure. I think being first generation here and being so embedded in my family's culture and what they've gone through to get here, and just listening to stories about my dad being in refugee camps and having to escape Yugoslavia to get to Italy, to then come to America, and then the sacrifices that they had to make, and even my mom's family and what my grandpa has gone through in his life to help support his own community, back in the day, and learning about my family. Of course, that's a part of me. And that intergenerational trauma is very, very thick in that aspect. being first generation. But even if you're not, there's still intergenerational trauma. So, if something's not working for you, doesn't feel right, it's okay to like set those healthy boundaries. A lot of parents don't understand that because they were never taught that or given that option or opportunity to do that. So we also not only have to break a cycle as us in our generation, because we're feeling like crap and something's not working, so we need to change something. So then we have to heal ourselves in whatever way, and then also educate our parents. And if they don't get it, it's okay because they didn't know. Like, look at how they grew up.
Yes.
So I also struggle with even being a child of someone who suffers from substance use disorder, and that's extremely hard. So being first generation, being an only child, which is not common in Albanian culture, they at least have like 3 or 4 kids. There was a lot of pressure of me being a savior and a hero, trying to save my family. And it's like, and they're looking at me for happiness and honor and pride and this and that. And it's like, I can't be all of that plus myself and what I want to do in my life. So, yeah, I think these struggles, they do define us. But, once you're in that struggle, it doesn't feel like that.
Yes.
So, of course, when you step away, as you said, the hindsight, and you've overcome a lot of things, and you're like, oh, okay, now I can see that as a learning lesson. I think it's just what I try to help people too is, because I've gone through it, is just love yourself more. That's all we can do. Even though we're dealing with someone who is suffering with substance use disorder, and that is a disease of the brain, and it's also a family disease, and people need to take addiction seriously. So I really want to advocate for that too, because I was always being told, like, don't talk about it, don't tell so-and-so, trying to conceal it. But how is that helping us? So that's why me starting Noteworthy, I'm like, I can't hold this in any longer, and we're going to talk about it so no one else can feel like how I felt.
For sure.
I guess, a little bit.
Yeah. It always seems like, for some reason, like asking for help is like a weakness, but it's actually like, it takes a lot of courage to go out and ask people for help. So it's like, yeah, I encourage anybody that's feeling a certain type of way, that they can reach out to Noteworthy Resources, Tatiana here. And I saw in the bio that you had your little story about your parents. How do they feel now about what you're doing?
They are proud of me for sure, which is very nice, and I'm very grateful for them, because they struggled so much. And also they're learning a lot of things and being educated themselves. So I think it's just, they're okay. They'll deal with it. I know it's like really hard to talk about addiction and things and shame and all of these different topics that they're trying to conceal to project, that they're okay, because I don't think it's an Albanian thing at all, but I think it's just someone who, people who come from another country and they migrate into another country and they want to show the other people, like, they're not poor or they're not struggling, so I'm going to wear this and I'm going to do this to show everyone else that I'm okay. Mm-hmm. But literally they have a Mercedes that they're paying for, brand new, but they're on welfare. Mm-hmm. Just to prove that they're okay.
Yeah.
So.
Which goes past all borders, no matter race, family, yeah.
Yeah.
Big
So
problem.
as you said in the beginning, it's not so much of our differences. It's actually all of us humans just, like, it's
voicing
a psychology
out
in it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. It's like one of us are hurting.
Yes.
But we don't identify that because we've never had that talk.
Yes. Let's take a quick pause. All right. Sorry for that little break. But, yeah, how did you feel about the whole BLM movement? And you guys were pretty involved during that whole time when people were protesting on the streets and stuff. And how were you involved or what was your perspective on things?
They're necessary. We have the right to speak and talk about things that we're struggling with and suffering. And I think, what we did last June was all we can do is what we're known for is providing resources. So we collected data from a variety of community partners and what they do in the community. So individuals who have a business or they're in the healthcare industry or helping families. I gathered a variety of information about local Black people of color, businesses that, like Black and brown, variety of people who I can highlight to the community what their support can be. So we looked up like mental health, family support, any of the resources that people can access around here, because even though I can't stop racism, but I will stop, like I will fight it.
Yes.
You know what I mean? As a community, we can just create a safe space and a helping hand. So I would go to local protests and bring a table full of resources or like voting registration forms, our mental health flyers for people to connect with us monthly. Also, like all the workshops we teach and host, they're all educational and empowering. So I had all those flyers on the table, as well as poster boards where people can voice their opinions and their rights and what they want to say. And that was really fun to see so many people come together for other humans who are struggling in the community. And it's still happening now. It's a fight that, unfortunately, I don't know. But at one person at a time, we can have these conversations. So, we did have a community panel where I asked some friends to talk about struggles or answer any questions about allyship. And a friend told me that he wanted to do what other cities are doing in their areas, which was host a skateboarding rally. And so I was like, you want to do it? All right, I'll help you. So I just got him connected to some other community organizers, and we, worked together as a team to get that done. We necessarily, I didn't do that myself, but I just want to give other people a platform
For sure.
to speak their truth.
That was a huge turnout. It was a good event. So I applaud you for setting these events. She's fantastic at setting these events up and making it happen. So for sure, if you listeners out there, if you need to find somebody to get stuff done, reach out to her, especially in this space. But yeah, talking about the differences, I was just saying the whole, more like recently, I guess, there was like that Stop Asian Hate rally stuff. And I got to be a speaker in it, but a lot of people like focus on the differences, and it seemed like there were some talks about how, yeah, our struggles aren't the same, but like they're like focusing on the differences when the similarities that we had is just like we're feeling oppressed, and we're just voicing that out as a group of people. So I was like, that's what we're focusing on, and it's not like you can only support Black people and Asians. It's like we coexist. We're stronger together. And I think that was an interesting thing to be a part of, and I think we're onto something in Albany. And this area is, for those that don't know, Noteworthy Resources is getting their own location on Lark Street in the 6th Ward right here. Since the 60s, we've been very progressive. We've had a lot of progressive ideas, so let's keep that going. Really keep that. Do you know the exact address of where it will be?
Yeah, it's 247 Lark Street, across from Pint Size and Bombers, above that store, Smoke Shop.
Nice.
Yeah, we are. Our grand
awesome.
opening is May 15th.
May 15th.
Yeah.
What's gonna be happening at that opening?
We welcome the community to come and check out the space and learn more about us. So we'll probably have like a couple booths out front and letting just a certain amount of people in at a time to check out the space. And we actually want this to be a community event, so we even ask other local creatives or businesses if they want to like either have like a little area at the grand opening where they want to have their business cards. I mean, that's how we thrive, is when you guys thrive. So we uplift one another. So that's something we can also privately talk about is, where do you see yourself also in our grand opening? Because it is going to be, it's a community center. We have a lot of really big plans and ideas of what we're going to be doing in that space. It's not so much of, this is us and what we do and leave us alone. This is like, our doors open and we're screaming from the top of the building saying, if you want to teach your own workshop, if you want a space to explore your passions and speak up and talk about things and get information, this is a place to do it. And we finally have done that. It hasn't really hit me yet, because this is something I've wanted to do since the beginning, since 2017.
Nice. So in 4 years, it's happening.
Yeah.
So how do people find the event? How do they, either if they want to get involved, where should they look?
Our website, nwralbany.org, has a lot of information, more details in it. I mean, we always post on Instagram as well, so at @NWR_Albany. We also have, a very, very interactive Facebook page and a bunch of groups that people can join that are private, whether it's the mental wellness group or the goddess empowerment group, which is more, the femme, all things about, just women empowerment and the more feminine support that we need. And then we also have the Skate Albany group, which gets local skateboarders connected so they can text each other or message each other like when they're there so they don't show up alone. And then we also have Boundary Boss group, which is about talking about how to create more healthy boundaries in our lives with people and stuff like that. So it's a variety of stuff. You can always just check us out and just whatever ideas you can just.
Yeah, you guys like redid your website recently, right? It was like very professionally done.
I actually started that. That was the first thing I ever did. I just used Squarespace, the template. I have no idea what I'm doing. I just plugged everything in.
It looked good though.
Oh, thank you.
It was very nice. I think it changed from when I looked at it before, right? Or did it not?
I don't know. We're always changing everything because we're adding more groups to our team. I mean, more individuals to our team. So thank God it's not me alone anymore, because it was for a while.
Yep.
I mean, it was like, in the beginning, I didn't know who was going to be on board with what Noteworthy was, because I was still forming what it was going to be. And I didn't have anyone that I can trust. And the people who I trust, I had my parents on my board and myself, because I needed a board members for a nonprofit. So now we finally, my parents are involved in some of the stuff. And then also now we are becoming more known that individuals are like, we would like to help too, and we want to be a part of this. And so that I'm extremely fortunate and grateful to have other people that are just as compassionate and willing to help members of the community like me.
And you mentioned business owners can help you guys out. You want to talk about how that works?
Yeah, so local businesses or artists can either send us a very small amount of like a gift certificate, and then we can add that to our raffles at our events. And that not only helps you guys as business owners locally, but it helps us as an organization to help us raise money to keep these events going, to keep these programs going on in the community. Because as I said before, we do have a lack of funding. We don't have any grants yet. We're still formulating and applying ourselves to them, but and the best thing to do is just word of mouth and help one another. So businesses can either donate a gift card or product, and they can put it on our raffle, so it gets them more well known at our events. Because at our skateboarding event every month, every second Saturday of the month, there's a variety of the people that come. I don't know why people think only like kids skateboard.
Yeah.
It's not. It's so
There's
many.
a huge group of people. And I feel like how Son of Egg grew was through these skateboarders. So it works. Business owners, if you feel like you want to donate, we're donating a few gift cards every month.
Yeah.
So definitely reach out to them. Just get involved in the community. And I always have an abundance mentality, like saying, if everybody grows, we're all going to do it together. And more restaurants popping up here will only benefit us. More people involved in these kind of events, it's only going to make the community grow. So yeah, I forgot what else I was going to say. Oh yeah, the funding. You said about struggling for funding, because Tatiana has a full-time job. How can people, what do you see yourself or envision Noteworthy to grow in a way that it can be your full-time focus?
So we're applying for some grants that can hopefully get me on a salary, because in the last 4 years of running this nonprofit, I've been a volunteer. So nothing has been in my pocket when it comes to money. Is actually me paying for things. But I'm like, it's okay. It's an investment. Everything's going to be fine, and it's worth it. And it will come. And I have to have that mentality of not giving myself barriers of, this is never going to happen, or what about this? What about that? Yeah, of course I have those moments, but overall I have to really have hope that one day this will be my full-time job, especially when I make these connections and getting myself out there and just making those smart moves as what to do to transition that. Because even though I do love my day job, and it is helping families and youth and mental health, and I'm learning a lot. So it's actually really good with my day jobs, because I'm learning so much to then eventually apply to Noteworthy. So I'm providing direct services right now, and that's giving me experience to then use it in the long run. So I know in time it will happen, and it's good that I have a full-time job to get that experience, but mentally and emotionally, it's exhausting.
For sure.
So then with the team joining me, it definitely helps give me options and help us out with even just any ideas. Or if I can't make something, like with skateboarding lessons, we've been constantly getting emails all the time for a variety of people wanting skate lessons. So now we have about 4 or 5 instructors now. So I don't have to do, all last summer I was teaching all of them. Mm-hmm. And it was fun. I loved it so much, but it was exhausting with a full-time job.
For sure.
But eventually I do want to have Noteworthy be my full-time job, also get other people to be part-timers or full-timers as well as volunteer. And, we have the little space on Lark Street, but our goal is to also open up a bigger space where we can have an indoor skate park, as well as a section where there's the center where people can come to support groups in the workshops and have meetings in a safe space still. Because there's no indoor skate park in the 3-hour radius of Albany. Mm-hmm. And that's a problem when we have a lot of yucky weather randomly. And the skate park is a safe space for so many people.
Like you said, the coping.
Yeah.
It's a lot of people cope through skateboarding, so yes.
In the winter, I can't even tell you how many messages I get about individuals being so just reminiscing on the summertime and having that option, but not having access to transportation to get to an indoor skate park that's 2.5 hours away or 3 hours away. So it is really important. And this is something that, we even had a petition. We have a petition going on. There's over 700 signatures that people are please get this open. So ultimately that will be our goal, but I know in time we'll get there.
Nice. So you want to plug in where people can possibly donate or create this fund? I saw that you had a Patreon.
Yeah.
You want to plug some of these in so that whoever feels, I'm feeling inspired. And I'm sure many people, after they hear it, they would want to get involved and also make these things happen. So do you want to tell them where?
Yeah, so if you even just go to our Instagram, the link in our bio has a variety of other links that you can tap into. So we do accept donations on our Venmo, and Venmo actually helps us a lot because it doesn't charge us a fee. So a lot of these other platforms will give you, an option, as many people know, to either have it instantly go into the account or in 1 or 3 days. And luckily, that doesn't we don't have to pay a fee for that. So we accept donations on Venmo. We also, with those donations, it not only helps us obviously with the rent at the space, but people come to us and they have broken skateboards or terrible equipment that they're trying to use, and it causes a lot of injury. That's not necessary that we can prevent and help support them. So, all those donations matter. And we have the Patreon, and we're actually learning more about it. We're very new to it. So we want to get some more information out there and some really fun tips and videos to put on our Patreon. So you can get to our Patreon on a link in our bio, or we even have where you can, if you do buy on Amazon, we have Amazon Smile, which is you just click a link and you can do your regular shopping, and there's a percentage from your Amazon shopping cart that comes to us and gets donated to us.
Oh, wow.
So little things like that. Mm-hmm. But even just coming to our workshops, that's more important, because you get to meet us and you get to learn and meet other people. And then, the workshop also, they're all, with a donation
Nice.
fee. Yeah.
That's awesome. So guys, check out nwr.albany.org.
Oh, it's nwralbany.org.
nwralbany.org.
Yeah.
Sorry about that. Go to their Instagram, nwr_Albany.
Yes.
And their Venmo is the same then?
Yeah, it's just NWR Albany.
NWR Albany. And again, this was Tatiana Gjergji and from Noteworthy Resources. Thank you for coming.
Thank you so much for having me.
No problem. It was awesome.
Podcast gonna be called?
It's just Son of Egg podcast for now.
Nice.
Yeah.
How'd you get the name?
Son of Egg?
Yeah.
My brother's actually the designer and branding. He works on branding and stuff. That's his work. So I think a lot of the time, or before we were brainstorming the food, everything came with an egg. Mm-hmm. So I think he just took that concept and then kind of sounds like cursing and a little bit of religious background a little bit, because we come from Christian background. Mm-hmm. So I think he just I don't know what went in his head and he just came up with it. And then my mom loved it. My dad hated it. And he was like, no, you can't name it that. But then we're just no, we all liked it. So
yeah, I love it, because it's and you're here and you're working with your parents. Mm-hmm. How is that?
Just my mom. My dad works as a engineer, so he's always moving and busy. But it was quite the experience, because it was just us two in the beginning.
Yeah.
So it was just disagreements we had. Yeah, we would just voice that, but we always came together at the end. Hey, we're building this together.
That's so cool.
So it was I remember the first day, probably around this time, we were still the first week, because we opened. So this would have been 1 week from the first opening day. So during that time, it was just it was a blessing, because every few people that came in, we would get feedback right away, and we were able to just change on the dime. This person said this, we need to change this. And then because we originally opened with these plastic containers for our sandwiches. Mm-hmm. And then a guy came in and he was like, man, I can't eat this. I'm driving, I can't hold it like this. And then he just he bought it and then he just like kind of, I think he literally threw it away because he was just like, I can't eat this in my hand, like, and it was like peak COVID time, so
Yeah,
they
so
were
you were
like,
like, no.
yeah. Well, it made sense. So I was like, oh wow, this is the wrong packaging. So now we do our sandwiches in the paper wrap,
Yeah.
and then so it was,
It's probably cheaper.
yeah, better for the environment.
Yeah.
We're very focused on trying to keep things eco-friendly too. So
Yeah, because you think like that'll be good, you know, that it'll be a good fit. But
Yeah.
it's like, that's so cool that you learn from, I mean, we have to learn
You
from
have
the
to.
customers.
Mhm.
You rely on them.
yes,
But even like you put like a modern mix to the tradition that your mom brings.
in terms of
The delivery,
marketing or
yeah,
yeah.
the delivery.
And I think that's how it was such a good synchrony, like synergy. I mean,
Yeah.
because it was like she's a very good cook, and I never realized it until so many people commented on it.
Mm-hmm.
They would just always talk about like, man, I'm spoiled. I was always just eating good food.
Yeah.
I always knew that because, but I always mentioned that my grandmother, her mother, was like the good cook. Because whenever she visited from Korea, I was just like always eating like good food.
Oh my
So I think like in my childhood, I was just so focused on that. But then now, like everybody's always like
Because
so
back
happy.
home, everything's homemade.
Exactly.
Like you have to make things on your own,
Mhm.
and then you have your farm or whatever. Everything. You know, you go to a local market to get everything fresh. That's how they grew up.
Yeah.
That's so cool.
So
I
so
love
she
it.
she definitely inherited a bunch of her traits in and she did a deli back in, we lived in Portland, Oregon for a bit.
Mm-hmm.
And that was like about 6 years ago.
Oh,
Ago.
wow.
But she wanted to get back in the scene of just like staying busy, like the rush. I think she missed like the adrenaline rush.
She's used to that. Always go, go, go.
No, not really, but I guess she missed it. I when she worked at the deli, I never really watched, or I didn't really help out because I was young.
Yeah.
But then I guess she missed that feeling, and then she wanted to start this. But also my grandma is going through like Alzheimer's, so she wants to keep her brain active.
Yeah.
And then so she really inspired to do this. But I think her vision came from when my brother and I went off to college, and she's very active in church. Not like obviously like this year and last
Yeah.
year, but she really found a calling to like feed people, and especially like the college students that like came to the church.
Yeah.
Because she was like, man, if I get to feed these children of people, hopefully other people are doing the same for other people.
Oh.
So that was like kind of the heart and vision to building this place.
Oh
So,
my
so it's
God.
very inspiring.
Yeah, because you are feeding the community.
Hmm.
It's a big role.
Yeah.
Like my parents owned a restaurant for 18 years. They had a restaurant. And then before that, my dad owned a bar
Hmm.
for years, you know. And I hated it
Yeah.
because it was the external was more valid than the internal, right? So it was only like for the show and for, I don't know, my parents really struggled. The food was absolutely amazing, you know, but it's, you know, I worked there, I mean, I've been working since I was 8 years old.
Yeah. Family business.
Yeah, there's no child labor laws for that.
Yeah.
It's fucked up. But like I hated the restaurant industry because it's like I had to do it. I didn't choose it. I liked meeting people. It was fun and it was creative, especially when I was a bartender. But it was like you're someone's bitch because they felt entitled to.
It was your way of living. So
Yeah, and then
yeah.
they you know, with even like pricing, people would comment on pricing. We're like the cheapest place in town. My parents are struggling. Like they didn't have managers or anything because they were like, well, we can do it. we're not gonna pay someone else to do it. My dad made really, really good Italian food. But it's like, how, it would be so freeing if my family owned an Albanian restaurant. Or like a little shop.
Yeah, back to your
Because our
heritage.
food is, our food is so good. It's like, why do we have to go to what? I mean, because you do have to.
But he lived in Italy, you said, for a bit.
Yeah,
right?
but he was little, and he lived in a refugee camp. It wasn't like he was fucking like sipping wine and shit.
Yeah.
He was living in a shed with his 10 family members, and they were supposed to live with like other people in this huge. My dad said it was like this huge tent. You know, it was like, I think of it as a concentration camp. That's how he described it to me. You know, they weren't getting killed, but they were dying because they were getting sick.
Yeah.
And so my grandpa, my dad's dad, made arrangement with some guy that worked in this is crazy, like, survival stuff, but like, he made arrangements my grandpa was like, listen, if my sons and I work and work this farm and do this and do that in this area, in this camp, can we please make that shed our home where we can live there? Because if I live over here with all these people, we're gonna get sick. And they made an agreement, and so my dad, my uncle, my grandpa had to work. I would think they were there for like 5 years just to have that little space.
Wow.
To sacrifice. Just crazy stuff like that. You know, and then my mom's family, she had to go to France to get sponsored and live with another like their family had to be sponsored by a family that was there. And they were there for like a little bit, maybe like 3 years. And then they moved to the Bronx. And then they met there. My parents were arranged. My mom was like 13.
Oh, wow.
And it was in the Bronx. So my dad's always like, oh, I'm sick of America. Let's move back to the Bronx. Like, that's always like something he says, you know. If we still lived in there, we'd probably have an Albanian restaurant because there's more Albanian people. But how freeing is it to like have a space here where you live? Right, you live in the area?
Yeah, we live in downtown.
Okay.
Well, we lived up in Half Moon, but we were always driving. It was too far, so
Yeah.
we just sold that house and then just moved out here.
Oh my, wait, like within the year too?
Within the year. So we were moving
my God.
while doing this. That was probably the biggest struggle. Like, we're trying to like pack and move while running the restaurant. Like, and we were here we were working probably 14 hours a day.
Yeah.
Just opening and then closing and then just here. So, but that was real hard, but it's amazing to see like now people are helping. So it's like, it's rewarding, I guess.
Yeah.
But
It
like,
is.
we're temporarily living in downtown.
That's cool. It's beautiful down there.
Everything's opening back up. Yesterday I was just driving home and I was like, oh wow, there's so many people downtown now. I think the economy is coming back.
Yeah.
And I think the state offices decided that it's okay.
So now your cooking has been getting better?
Yeah, I was forced to become a cook.
I try to make kimchi. It is so hard.
It's a process.
It was inspired years ago. Well, it wasn't that long. I watched Ugly Delicious. And ever since then, I was like, oh my God. How did I never try kimchi before?
What's Ugly Delicious?
What's his face? Dave Chang? Was it Chang?
David Chan.
David Chang. He created this show called Ugly Delicious where he like focuses, like each episode focuses on one type of food, and he like travels the world and talks to people about it, and it's just so cool, like, and it's funny and it's just honest, and he's Korean, and he, like, his mom, like, was on the show, like, making things, and so you learn about a lot about the Korean culture as well through him, you know, and that's why I love like watching those shows, because I wouldn't have gotten that. because I don't hang out a lot with Korean people because I don't know.
They're not around.
Well, no.
Yeah, Korean
So
community is not very big here. And it always gets split up because of the churches you go to.
yeah.
Or a lot of Koreans are actually forced to go to church to meet a Korean community too, even if they're not religious.
Yeah, because that is a community hub where people connect.
Yeah.
Where's the Korean church around here? Wait, was there?
So our family goes to the one in Waterville, Sarang Fellowship
Yeah.
Methodist Church.
Wait a minute.
It's like by the Price Chopper out there.
Yeah, it's is it 23rd Street
Yeah,
or something?
23rd Street.
Yeah, I drove by it the other day and I was like, I'm constantly trying to pick up like these kids I work with, like my clients, and I see like all these like I'm like, oh my god, is that open? Like, I just want to go in there to just meet someone.
Yeah.
And then I don't know if it's.
They do a lot of donations, so like clothes and stuff. They'll get like all the family members from the church will like donate clothes and whatever, and then they literally sell it to raise money for mission stuff.
Yeah.
And so they're like selling it for like 25 cents for anything.
Oh, wow.
And at a certain point, they're just trying to get it all to whoever needs it. So they're just like giving stuff away. And
that's
like,
so awesome.
Yeah, so definitely.
We do that too. We have like a clothing, we used to host before COVID. I used to host them at my job. It was in the South End at the Addiction Center of Albany, where people would come and they donate all these clothes and they wouldn't drop them off and just leave them. I would say, no, like take them out and put them all on the table, display them. And then people can come and see what you have and they can take it, or you see what other people have. And if you need it, you take it. And then some people just came just to get stuff. Like some families, like this one kid, he walked away, I think there was like a pillow, like 2 pillows. It was like he walked away with $100.
Yeah.
He was like, oh my gosh.
Yeah, this is awesome.
It was so cool. It was just a swap. People brought one thing or 20 things. And then whatever was left over afterwards, I would bag back up in different categories depending on where I drop them off. I drop them off at all the local like churches or shelters that actually give them to people that live here rather than Salvation Army or Goodwill or even the Mission downtown.
Yeah.
It can be a little iffy. You know, they say that if they have too many donations that they get thrown out.
Yeah.
So I'm like, don't take my shit then.
Yeah.
I'll give it to someone else who will use it. It's crazy. Crazy.
It was a good talk. I think we do need to wrap up. So I'll just end it here. Thank you.
Thank you.
How is the kimchi and egg?
Oh my god.
And she
so
gave
good.
you some of these pickled vegetables, I think.
Yeah, I haven't. I like the jalapeno.
Yeah, it's jalapenos, cucumbers,
Oh my god.
onions. But she wants to let people try it because it's good with kimchi and eggs.
It's like a little sweet, spicy.
Yeah, sweet and spicy.
Oh my god.
It's a soy sauce base, I believe. So it's
So good. Soy sauce in it?
yeah, it's soy sauce based.
Ah. There's another show I watched. Salt, fat, acid. Yeah.
About cooking, right?
I got like really high last night and was like, oh my god. That's so, like the soy sauce one. The guy had the barrels for like over 100 years in Japan. And watching him and how he made it, I was like, I went to my cabinet, threw out my fucking soy sauce. I'm like, this is garbage. America's a lie. Even like olive oil, like they say, like it should be fresh. You shouldn't even have it for longer than, like there's an expiration date like milk. It's like, I didn't know that.
Yeah, right.
So cool. Like Action Bronson will put olive oil on. Well, he's Albanian. He's Albanian too.
Him all the time. Him and Maddie Matheson all
Oh my god, I love him. His shows on Vice.
so good.
That's what got me into it.
We'll finish up here.